How's it going, everyone? My name is Kase, and today you join me here in sunny Florida. I'm actually on vacation, but there's a couple cool vehicles down here that are worth making a video on. This right here is a 2001 Exile Flat Tracker. This is a completely custom motorcycle. It actually belongs to my dad, Captain Dirk. So Russell Mitchell is the bike builder behind Exile, and you kind of worked with him directly to figure out the design for this motorcycle.
Yeah,
right?
I saw an ad in Iron Horse magazine and a picture of some of the stuff that he was doing. And Russell, he's out of Orange County near LA. And he and I collaborated and came up with this build. He was only doing rigid frames, and this is a it is a Softail frame, actually.
Yeah, it looks like a hardtail.
Right, it has the look of a hardtail, but there's a shock underneath, so it makes the ride a little bit better. Not a lot, but
yeah, I mean, this is not meant to be a very practical motorcycle, but it's got a 113 cubic inch engine from TPE, so Total Performance Engineering. And actually, one really cool thing about this bike is that even though it was built in Orange County in that era, it's got no chrome on it. This is all just polished metal, which is way cool. And yeah, it's a 2001, but it honestly really does not look like it's that old. This has aged a lot better than most of the custom bikes that came out of that era. Something interesting about this is the massive tires, both front and back. So the bike is called the Exile Flat Tracker, kind of playing off
a flat tracker bike. Yeah, with the short handlebars. You know, a lot of people were building chopper style bikes with the long front end. I didn't want that. So this looks more like a flat tracker, but he called it a fat tracker because we went with the
huge
fat tires. Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of interesting because at least what I think of when I think of a flat track bike, it doesn't look like this. To me, this kind of looks like a bobber because you've got the Springer seat. The whole thing sits very low. It's a V-twin. It's old school. You've got forward controls, but short bars. But you know, I mean, whatever they want to call it, I guess, one way or another, it is definitely cool. Now, one side effect of having a tire this big on the front is that this motorcycle does not like to turn. You used to have this in Colorado, and I do not know how you rode this in Colorado.
Yeah, so originally the front tire was even fatter, and I found a guy in Colorado who swapped out the front. We had to go with a different wheel and tire combination up front just to make it a little easier to handle. Really, the only way you steer this bike is to use reverse steering. And it works well.
It does not want to turn.
No, but it's very comfortable at speed. The center of gravity is very low, so she's very well balanced.
Now it does not want to tip over, I will say that. Something else that's funny about riding this bike is it has the stiffest clutch I've ever felt on a motorcycle, but I have to say it feels all very well engineered. When you click this transmission into gear, it's very smooth and very nice engagement. I also love the noise that this drive belt makes is unreal. It sounds wicked cool. There's another really cool item back here. The rear sprocket is also the brake, which is really interesting. And you said you feel like because of that it doesn't work super well.
Yeah, you have to go with an O-ring chain because you can't lubricate the chain because obviously then the braking doesn't work anymore. So, but it's limited on its rear end braking anyway. It's got a good disc up front, so stopping power is okay. It's a heavy bike, so you're not going to stop on the dime or do any kind of a stoppies with it. So
yeah, it's definitely not going to do a stoppie. It's also got a Sportster Tank on it.
Yep.
I mean, that might look familiar to some of you out there. So there's a couple familiar elements on this, but yeah, a lot of custom parts. And it's just a way cool looking bike. Seeing this go down the road is awesome. Now here are the brake lights on this motorcycle. It's got no turn signals. It's pretty much just the bare minimum to be legal. So you have a mirror. You've got, well, yeah, pretty much no gauges other than this oil pressure gauge. So it's very simple. And something that's cool about that, is it keeps the bars up here super clean. So that button integrated into the grip, that's for your horn, right?
Horn, and then high-low beam is actually underneath, right here. So those are the only two buttons that you have as you're driving.
Right. And I like the way that those wires are ran, they put them through the bars.
Yeah, the throttle cable's through the bar.
So it's all very clean, very minimal. And just the design of this bike has aged really well. Now, I don't have all of my riding gear here with me in Florida, so I'm not going to take this motorcycle very far, but you have to hear it crank up, and you have to see it go down the road, because this is a wicked cool bike. So like I said, 113 cubic inches, which is what? That's about a little over 1,800 cc's. Yeah, it's a pretty big displacement bike. I mean, of course, there's bikes now that you can get with even bigger engines, but considering that this motorcycle is very stripped down and it's got a pretty aggressive cam in it, yeah, it's got plenty of motor. Now, one thing actually about this engine setup is that at low speeds, it does not like to just maintain speed. It either wants to be accelerating or decelerating. So that part of it, if you were using this as like a commuter bike, would probably get annoying. But when you hop on this motorcycle, I don't know, you're more in the mindset of wanting to accelerate anyways. So just pick that. And the key is under the seat. So you do this little dance, and you have to push the compression releases on the top of the engine because, again, this is a big motor. Way cool. I always forget how dramatic this motorcycle is to ride. It is just pure chaos. I mean, again, it's not especially a handling motorcycle. Oh, your helmet's coming apart, Dad. Yeah, I mean, it fights you through the turns. It really does not want to turn, but it is just a crazy experience to ride this bike. Especially because even though it is so chaotic and that drive belt is whining and it almost sounds like you've got a supercharger going or something, it's very exciting, but it feels really well put together because it is. These are all nice components, and the bike is a blast to ride. It also looks way cool going down the road. Again, in my mind, this motorcycle is kind of like a bobber, and I love that style of bike. Now here's another interesting item on this motorcycle. It actually has a Kickstarter. This is not a motorcycle that I would want to try and kickstart. A, because I'm not very good at kickstarting bikes. I've never owned a bike that needed to be kickstarted, but also, yeah, this is a big motor to try and kick over. Now, you've had this bike for, well, 20 years now.
20 years now, yeah.
So what do you like and what do you dislike?
I mean, it's still a great bike to ride, you know. What I love is this powerful motor that seems like it's going to stall, and as soon as you crack open the throttle, she just goes. And you know, it's a fun bike. And actually, Kase and I, we've done a couple of 3-day trips where I rode this thing, and not the most comfortable bike in the world, but it gets there in style, and so it's still fun to ride, and looks good even today.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually the only motorcycle of yours that you didn't build in our shop back home.
That's correct, yeah.
So, I don't know, would you ever see yourself building a motorcycle like this? Because most of the stuff you do is pretty budget-oriented.
Right, and I like the Japanese bikes to build and modify. Would I ever build a V-twin? No, I wouldn't. I mean, a lot of people are doing that, or used to really do it, and now it's not an interest of mine, but I love this bike. Still enjoy riding it around. So.
And I'm sure you'll never get rid of it, and it really does not look like really any other motorcycle that I've seen on the road. I mean, of course, there are a lot of bobbers out there, a lot of big V-twin bikes, but this one has definitely a very unique style to it. Well, anyways, that's all for this video. Be sure to go back to tflbike.com where we're writing articles on motorcycles pretty much every day, and we'll be sure to see you in the next video.